Welcome, and we are an hour away from happy hour, so that's a good thing. This is the last session of the day. It's gone fast. This is my second year here at the conference, and it just amazes me in terms of just all the knowledge that you can soak up in terms of each of these sessions. Now, quick disclaimer, I am not Patrick Bauer. And this is not the planning for the best, preparing for the worst, etc. session. In the spirit of being agile, Patrick's plane was delayed. So Patrick and I are switching sessions. I'm the 8:30 a.m. session tomorrow morning, and so Patrick and I are going to switch places, okay? So instead, we're going to focus on building blocks for an effective and efficient executive S&OP process. I'm going to touch on a little bit about Owens Corning, the company that I work for, give you a couple quick tidbits about myself, talk about the Owens Corning S&OP cycle, give you an overview of that, and then I'm going to go into what we consider the S&OP building blocks at Owens Corning that are the foundational elements to success for us, and then summarize with key takeaways. So first, without any further ado, Owens Corning at a glance has been around for about 80 years. We were founded in 1938. We have three strong businesses, which I'm going to touch on more in a moment here. We have about 16,000 employees worldwide, and we operate in 26 countries around the world. We've been on the Fortune 500 for 62 consecutive years, and this last fiscal year of 2016 had just under $6 billion of sales. If you look at our three business units, they're very different, but similar. The one that I think most people are probably most familiar with is the one in the center, which is our insulation business. This is the insulation that you'd see at a Home Depot or a Lowe's that you'd put inside of your walls when you're doing home construction or new home residential construction. And for those of you as old as I am, you probably remember the Pink Panther commercials in terms of rolling out the insulation, the attic, etc. So that's a proud mascot of ours. Another business we have, though, on the left here is the roofing business. And this is our roofing asphalt shingles business. And what we do is we have, the asphalt shingles, a variety of components, underlayments, accessories, etc., that we sell along that create full roofing systems. And then the final business, and all of these businesses are roughly about the same size, is our composites business. Now this is the business that I work in, and this is a business that's been more challenging for us to explain to our investors. And in fact, it's probably one of the most challenging businesses in Owens Corning. It doesn't make as much intuitive sense in terms of the products that we sell, and I'll kind of cover those in a second, as you can think about a bat of insulation that you put into a wall or a roofing shingle that you put on your roof. Instead, in the composites business unit, what we do is we manufacture essentially glass fibers that are specialized in terms of the different resins and the diameters and the properties that we add to them, and they go into other manufacturers' processes. And you're going to be much more familiar with those products than ours. So with that being said, as we look at kind of what some of our markets are in the composites business unit, we have a large portion of our business that goes into the building construction area. And for example, we're vertically integrated, so all of our roofing shingles, the composite fiber mat, comes from our composites business. And then what we do is we take that mat, we spray it with asphalt, we coat it with granules, and that's what ultimately goes on your roof. But we also have a big presence in transportation. In the consumer, you can think of like boat hulls in terms of the fiberglass. Our product goes and is the key ingredient in that. Industrial piping, and then a lot of people think of power and energy. So if you think about those mega windmills, those turbines, those blades are constructed from our fibers. So really, what is a composite? And so what I've done here is I've got a few of our products shown up here that we sell. We've got Type 30 is a specific branded product. We've got rovings, we've got mats, we've got wucks, and we've got ducts. All of those mean absolutely nothing to you and meant nothing to me when I joined Composites either. But the key thing is all of these are different materials in terms of different outputs that we produce that are key products that go into some of those markets we talked about. And so really what a composite is just a combination of two things. And in our case, it's a glass and a resin. And a technology that we use to make it specific to the needs of the end market we're selling into. And why would you want to use glass? Well, there's a variety of reasons. It adds dimensional strength, it reduces weight, it resists corrosion, so on and so forth. So there's a lot of benefits. And if you think about the macro trends that are going on and trying to get more mileage in terms of your vehicles, et cetera, there's a lot of markets that we're going into with our products to be able to go and satisfy those needs. So if we think about the diverse range of applications, I've already talked a little bit about the properties that are important here. It's the lightweight, durable, corrosion resistant. Those provide attributes that are important to our customers. Energy efficiency, durability, so on and so forth. And again, it goes into your wind markets, your transportation, fiberglass ladders, so on and so forth. So that's kind of the range of applications that we have. And then if you look at our business, we've got a global footprint. And so again, we've got, in our composites business, it's probably the most global out of all of our businesses. The other ones are a lot more focused in North America. We have the #1 position in the world, and indeed most areas we are the #1 position with probably the exception of China where we have an emerging position there. And if you think about this global footprint, now as I start to get you away from kind of about our business, you start to think about how we're organized from a supply chain to be able to support this. And the way that we're organized is in each of our major regions. So we've got the Americas, we've got Europe, and we've got Asia Pacific. We've got a regional supply chain that reports up into the general manager for that particular region. And then we've got a global center of excellence that goes across the top. And really, that's the group that I report into. And our goal is to make sure that any decisions that we make are to the benefit of the overall global enterprise rather than just the P&L of any one particular region. So that's kind of a little bit of a flavor for kind of where we're going. Now I'll tell you a little bit about myself. I'm currently the global S&OP leader at Owens Corning. I've been doing this role it's going on 2 years now. I was in the same seat as you guys last year at this time. Really like this conference. Recommend it to anybody. You're going to get what you put into it. I recommend that you try to go to as many of these sessions as possible. Try to network as much as you can with your peers. There's a variety of different maturity levels in terms of supply chain that you're going to see at this conference. I think you can learn from anybody, whether you're a stage 1 or stage 4. I've had 18 years of what I would say is cross-functional experience. Emphasis in supply chain, but also systems and process improvement. I'm a proud Wolverine. Both my bachelor's and my master's there. Go blue for any fellow Wolverines. There we go. And I'm not here, the key thing I want to point out is I'm not here as an expert, but rather as a fellow practitioner. And really I'm excited to share the journey that we've had at Owens Corning and Composites in terms of developing our executive review into something that's really well received by our leadership. So I'll kind of back up and give you a quick history lesson on this. When I first joined, we have, and I'll get to this in a second here, we have an executive that's passionate about S&OP. That's a huge, huge deal right there. That's probably the biggest thing that you need. But there was dissatisfaction in the way that the S&OP was operating. And as I had a chance to sit down with him and with my now leader, et cetera, and talk through some of the things that the satisfaction was generated from, it seemed like simple things. People would, like the pre-read, would come out 24 hours in advance, and then a revision 12 hours in advance, and then another revision 3 hours in advance, and another revision 1 hour before the meeting. And then you'd get into the meeting, and people would be like, I don't know what you're talking about with this number. I've got this number. This doesn't match mine. And so you'd have all these things where we were tripping over ourselves, over what seemed like the simplest things, the blocking and tackling, et cetera. And so that's one of the things that we set out, and you'll see that in the theme of how I set this up, of we were going to attack and fix that early on because there was no way we were going to be successful in what we wanted to do without getting those barriers taken care of first. And so what's in this for me? Again, as I said, last year I was in your seat. I had a chance to make a lot of contacts, talk to a lot of people, and through the benchmarking that we were able to do, it was great because we were able to share some things that we were doing well, but then we were also to learn from some of the people that we benchmarked with in areas that they had innovative ideas that we were able to steal shamelessly and roll that into our process. And so I think benchmarking is one of the most important things that you can get out of this conference in terms of kind of making those connections, talking to each other, and learning from what works well and what doesn't. So as I talk to the Owens Corning S&OP cycle, it really starts at the beginning with your strategic priorities. So it's important to understand where you want to go in terms of the blueprint for the year, the next several years in terms of your product life cycle, what products you're introducing, et cetera. It's very important to understand what your strategic growth initiatives are, whether it's revenue, EBIT, what are the imperatives at the top in terms of are we trying to drive down working capital, et cetera. So all of those strategic priorities are what you start off with. And then the first phase that we have is our product portfolio management. Now, what I want to be clear on here is we by no means are experts in each of these different buckets. We're at different stages of maturity in each one, and this is probably one of the ones where we have the most opportunity for growth. Because I think we're pretty good at introducing new products when it looks at new product introduction and the process around that, et cetera. What we're not very good at is when we go through the renovation stage of the exit of the product life cycle, and we see that a product is dying, is not profitable, et cetera, and we just can't get the sales guy or the marketing guy to kind of kill it because it's strategic to a certain customer or it's going to come back, et cetera. So there's definitely opportunity for us to improve there. That product lifecycle management flows into the demand management process, which I think several of you guys do, which then flows into our inventory planning. And what we do here is we've got, not too dissimilar to what I'm sure a lot of you do, is we've got a structured process where we're understanding where we have make to order, make to stock, what different layers of inventory we need to have, and making sure that we're all aligned on what the appropriate level is. That flows into the supply planning process that we have, which we do our rough cut capacity planning process, aligned around the globe. And then finally, this culminates in the executive S&OP review, which is where I'm going to really kind of dive in and spend the rest of the time in this session.